but that Esperanto was such a nice job that he saw no point going on. It's quite simple. It's more easily learned than most natural languages, and if anybody I knew was fluent in it, I would learn it. But I actually have enough difficulties like interacting with and talking to people and being understood anyway. Now, since I didn't prepare sufficiently, and I don't know how long it took, but that certainly wasn't a long enough speech, nor was it written in sonnet form, which I think would have been ideal. Not your traditional sonnets, but a hexameter. Never mind. I'd like to open the floor for questions.
Questions at the back first, please.
You read a poem at the beginning of your speech, and you said you were going to come back to it in heaven.
Ah! Yes. Well, the poem... Are you asking me to read it again?
No.
No.
Keep to the point.
No. If you look at the poem, it's about palingenesis, rebirth, and the idea that it is somehow always more complex every time. The phoenix has longer feathers, the antlers are more ornate each time, right? So the idea that it isn't necessarily important so we have an event now which is felt by people to be a repetition of something that happened in the past, and it takes its importance from the fact that it's a repetition of something that happened in the past. It isn't actually factually important that it is in fact a repetition of something that happened in the past. Or perhaps it's a foreshadowing of something that happens in the future, right? You can't put the essence of palingenesis or rebirth, you can't put the essence of it on, you can't test it as a historical fact by saying, well, is this really a repetition of something that's happened before? What I'm suggesting is that now is the next time. Now is the next time.
Any more questions? I saw a hand here.
Could you please keep selecting them for me so I don't have to?
Yes, Lady Renew.
But select Michelle for next. Lady Renew. I'm sorry.
Well, there were some nice, fresh, good, terrific things there, you said. And we could speak on many things. But to criticize you,
yes,
let's not use the terms of our foe, what I would call our predator. Because that way we don't progress. We simply keep in their orbit. Now, unfortunately, Jubilee is one of those terms. Because they have the Jubilee. We don't need to...
You're completely right. I was just thinking of the medieval festival.
Yeah,
I simply mean a holiday, a renunciation of debt.
And I'm not sure whether I agree with that. But anyway, there's another one. What was the other one? It was the Esperanto. I mean, let's try to use our own genetic... I mean, the Jews, as the activists, because we can't use the generic term, but Jewish supremacists, let's put it that way, have stuck to the concept of their anti-Gentile definition. That's what the Jew is. It's an anti-Gentile. First you have anti-Gentile before you can have anti-Semite, so forth.
But most of the roots in Esperanto, Zamenhof constructed from European languages, and I don't think he used much Hebrew at all. And so, I mean, the only thing Jewish about Esperanto is, firstly, that...
It's about Babel, isn't it? It's Babel. Let's not go to the Babel ideas. Let's not go to Jewish ideas. We do have, I think the Jews are right when they say that we are genetically, that's why I don't know speech, we are genetically not them.
No.
Let's be proud of that.
Yes.
Let's be... Let's actually earn it.
If we spoke Esperanto generation...
language.
I'll go further then. If we were to adopt the Hebrew alphabet and speak Hebrew, then after a generation, it would be fully Aryanized, because it's not the fact that a Jew first came up with the idea of this language and wrote the grammar. I mean, many people have made constructed languages. Esperanto is the only one that was actually good enough that it worked, and there are actually more people speak it than Icelandic now. I know that most people disagree with this. I happen to think it's a pretty language. If you want a lingua franca, you should have something that would be easy to learn, and that's not Latin, and certainly not Proto-Indo-European.
Third question. Any third question? Yes, here from behind the camera.
What would you propose to do with it on your election?
Birabhijan is the answer.
What?
Birabhijan.
Oh, yes.
4 years ago, if I may interrupt the speaker, 4 years ago, Birabhijan, the Jewish autonomous state, which is on the border region, which is on the border of China and Russia, celebrated its 70th anniversary, which totally upstages the 60th anniversary, in which we've just listened last Sunday to the march of the Israelis trampling on the dead bodies of the Palestinians, etc., etc. So there is a solution. There is a homeland for those Jews. They lied when they said they didn't have a homeland. If they move there, they don't take their nukes with them. They have a safe place, because predators, you don't kill off predators. The world is made with predators. Let's give them a safe place and keep them out of our own waters and worn out the world.
Let's see what the speaker says.
That's brilliant, but that's not my answer. My answer is I don't propose anything. What I'm proposing to do is to call out, is to evoke something in our own people, and which includes people not in this room. I mean, I'm actually trying to. What I would like to see happen, I would like to see, I want something to happen as a result of my speech, and it has to do with the formation of this ultra-nationalist, ethnocentric, extremely high IQ, highly intellectual, literate, fierce, palingenetic elite. And that's what I'm interested in. That's why that question is actually a side issue for me. I don't propose. I'm not making any specific proposals. I think that.
Can we move to a fourth and last speaker? Questioner here behind the camera.
Well, firstly, a very quick observation. Apart from the fact that I thought your talk was very interesting and thought-provoking, I think we've got enough trouble communicating with the people out there in English, let alone Esperanto.
No, I don't mean for our meetings. I meant as a lingua franca for the Imperium.
What?
Like a lingua, which means to communicate across language barriers.
It's a nice idea, though I personally prefer Icelandic or even Proto-Indo-European.
Questions?
But anyway, the question I ask you is this. When you are talking, there's a distinction, I don't know whether you draw or not, but when you were talking about exoteric and esoteric, I assume what your distinction you were making was that we should not, as others have, conceal a completely different message behind the message we transmit,
right,
which is actually what we're suspected of doing, accused of doing by our opponents. However, what I would put to you for your opinion, do you think we should necessarily, how can I put it, we should necessarily say everything all at once to the general public, or should we not lead them by steps to enlightenment, which is not the same thing as lying to them or having a concealed message which is different from our final message? Because most people out there, many people out there who, for example, are not very happy about the vast floods of immigrants coming into this country. They're not very happy when they go and try and fill their tank up with oil or with petrol. They're not very happy about a number of other issues. But at the same time, they're not particularly... if you mention the three-letter word beginning with J, they think you're going to go around in uniforms whipping people.
I have heard, to me, convincing arguments on both sides of that question, because I know there's a commenter, Spigor, at Majority Rights, who, and this sounds perfectly reasonable when he says it, he says, we can be as mild as we need to be, because as soon as someone starts realizing the truth, it's a slippery slope. They end up in our position anyway.
I totally agree with that.
Right. And then there's Alex's position, which is, be as open as possible and say everything at once. And I actually think that, in fact, there's room for both those, and that it makes our position stronger and safer if we both have people who are trying to reach the mass with a conciliatory message, and we have some people staking out the most extreme opinions that they can express without being jailed or killed. Because when Alex says something outrageous, he makes it safe for everybody who is between him and the moderate position. So if somebody stakes out a more extreme position, that protects the previous extreme. It's called triangulation.
Yes. Round of applause for